I pledge allegiance to my flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with...
Camera opens on a soft focus shot of diverse American school children, hands over hearts, facing a flag just out of frame. The image is nostalgic and warm. Have you ever stopped to think about the words so many of us have recited since childhood? I pledge allegiance to the flag, ... They're as familiar as a favorite song, a daily ritual in classrooms across the nation. But where did this promise, this daily declaration, actually come from? It feels like it's been around forever, woven into the very fabric of America. Right. But the truth is, it hasn't. The Pledge of Allegiance has a fascinating, and perhaps surprising, origin story. It wasn't crafted by the Founding Fathers or etched into a monument by a president. Instead, it was born from the mind of one man, a minister and author, with a specific vision for his country. To understand the pledge, we have to travel back in time, not to 1776, but to the late 19th century. The year is 1892. America as a nation still healing from the deep, painful wounds of the Civil War, which had ended less than 30 years earlier. The scars were still fresh. The country was also experiencing a massive wave of immigration, with people arriving from all corners of the globe, bringing with them different languages, cultures, and traditions. It was a time of great change, immense growth, but also a time of deep-seated anxieties. How could this sprawling, diverse, and sometimes divided nation forge a single, unified identity? How could all these different people, from north and south, from farms and cities, from old families and new arrivals, feel like they belonged to one indivisible nation? This was the question that weighed heavily on the mind of a man named Francis Bellamy. Bellamy was a Baptist minister, a Christian socialist, and a writer for a popular family magazine called The Youth's Companion. He was a passionate patriot, but his patriotism was tinged with concern. He looked at the political tensions, the social divisions, the lingering resentments from the war, and he worried about the future of the Republic. He believed that America needed a powerful symbol, a daily reminder of the ideals that bound everyone together. He saw the American flag as that symbol, but he felt it needed something more. It needed a voice. It needed a vow. The opportunity to create that vow came with a major national event, the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's arrival in the Americas. A massive celebration was planned for October 1892, centered around the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago. As part of this nationwide commemoration, the Youth's Companion spearheaded a campaign to put an American flag in every single schoolhouse in the country. It was a brilliant marketing move, but for Bellamy, it was something much deeper. He envisioned millions of school children, the future of the nation, all raising their eyes to the flag on the same day, at the same moment, and speaking the same words of loyalty. So, Bellamy sat down to write. He wanted something short, powerful, and to the point. Something that any child could memorize and recite with pride. He tinkered with phrases, trying to capture the essence of American identity. His first draft was simple and direct. He later said he wanted it to be a peroration, a grand, climactic statement. He chose his words with incredible care. Allegiance, a word signifying deep loyalty. Republic, emphasizing that America was a nation of laws and representation, not a monarchy. And then, the phrase that would become the heart of the pledge. One nation, indivisible. For a man who had lived through the era of the Civil War, that word indivisible was everything. It was a powerful rebuke to the idea of secession, a firm declaration that the Union was permanent and unbreakable. And so, on September 8, 1892, the Youth's Companion published 223 words that Francis Bellamy had crafted. It was presented as part of the official program for the National Public School celebration on Columbus Day. Original pledge read, I pledge allegiance to my flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Notice something missing. The words of the United States of America and under God were not there yet. Those would be added much later, reflecting the changing anxieties and priorities of the nation in different eras. The response was overwhelming. On October 12, 1892, millions of schoolchildren across the United States stood, faced their new schoolhouse flags, and for the very first time, recited the Pledge of Allegiance. It was a powerful, unifying moment, exactly as Bellamy had envisioned. It quickly became a morning ritual in schools, a civic ceremony that instilled a sense of shared identity and purpose in a new generation of Americans. The simple vow, born from a magazine campaign and one man's patriotic dream, had begun its journey to becoming a cornerstone of American civil life. It was a promise spoken by children, a hope for a unified future, echoing in classrooms from coast to coast. But the story of the pledge doesn't end there. The evolution of its words is a story in itself, a reflection of America's own journey through the 20th century. Each change, each debate over its language, reveals a chapter in our nation's history. From concerns about immigrant loyalty during World War I to the ideological battles of the Cold War, the pledge has been a mirror held up to the American soul. It has been a source of unity, but also, at times, a source of controversy and profound legal debate. What did it mean to add of the United States of America? Why was the phrase "under God" inserted decades later? And how did the official salute, which once looked very different, change into the hand-over-heart gesture we know today? The journey of these simple words is a fascinating look into who we are as a nation, what we believe in, and how we see ourselves. It's a story of patriotism, politics, religion, and the ongoing quest to define what it truly means to be one nation. Today, we're stepping back in time, all the way to 1892. Forget everything you think you know about America, because we're diving into a nation that was a vibrant, often chaotic, melting pot of hope and uncertainty. This is chapter 2 of our journey, and it sets the stage for so much that was to come. Imagine this: the Civil War, that seismic clash that tore the nation apart, was a generation past, but its scars were still visible, etched into the landscape and the hearts of its people. The wounds were slowly, painfully, starting to heal. Reconstruction efforts had largely ended, and the South was grappling with its new reality, while the North was powering ahead, industrializing at a breakneck pace. This wasn't a time of quiet reflection. It was a period of dynamic transformation, and fueling this transformation, waves upon waves of immigrants. From Ireland, Italy, Eastern Europe, and beyond, they poured into America's bustling ports. They weren't just seeking a new life. They were bringing their cultures, their traditions, their languages, and their dreams, forever changing the face of American cities and rural communities alike. New York, Chicago, Boston. These cities were exploding, becoming mosaics of humanity, each new arrival adding another vibrant tile to the grand design. Now, with all this change, too powerful, sometimes contradictory, emotions began to swell across the nation. On one hand, there was a palpable sense of patriotism. People were proud of America's growth, its innovative spirit, its promise of opportunity. The Gilded Age was in full swing, dazzling with new inventions, burgeoning wealth, and a seemingly boundless future. The country felt like a rising global power, and this instilled a collective pride, a belief in American acceptance. But beneath that shimmering surface, there was also a deep undercurrent of anxiety. What did it mean to be American anymore? With so many new faces, new languages, new customs, many wondered if the core identity of the nation was being diluted or even lost. Nativist sentiments, unfortunately, began to bubble up, fueled by fears that these new arrivals wouldn't assimilate, that they would fundamentally alter the country's character. This wasn't a new concern, but in 1892, it was amplified by the sheer scale of immigration. There was a genuine struggle to define who belonged and what cultural values would prevail. Debates raged in newspapers, in churches, and in private homes about language, religion, and the very fabric of society. Would America remain a predominantly Anglo-Saxon, Protestant nation, or would it embrace a broader, more diverse identity? These were not just academic discussions. They touched the lives of every person, especially those trying to build a new home in a strange land. The country was a study in contrasts. Soaring optimism met with gnawing uncertainty. On one hand, you had the incredible progress of the Industrial Revolution, creating jobs and opportunities. albeit often under harsh conditions. Steel mills roared, railroads crisscrossed the continent, and new technologies like electricity were starting to light up homes and factories. On the other hand, you had labor unrest, massive income inequality, and a growing sense that the American dream was becoming harder to reach for many. Think of the World as Columbian Exposition being planned for Chicago in 1893. A grand celebration of American ingenuity and progress. That was the patriotic spirit, the confident face America wanted to show the world. Yet, simultaneously, reformers and social critics were highlighting the stark realities of poverty in crowded tenements, the exploitation of child labor, and the struggles of farmers on the Great Plains. It was a time when the myth of endless opportunity was constantly being tested by the harsh realities of a rapidly changing economy. This period also saw the rise of new political movements, grappling with these very issues. Populism, for instance, gained traction as farmers and laborers felt their voices weren't being heard by the industrial elite. They questioned the concentration of wealth and power, advocating for economic justice and greater government regulation. The anxiety wasn't just about cultural identity. It was also about economic security and the fairness of the system itself. So, in 1892, America wasn't just a place on a map. It was an idea in flux. It was a nation trying to reconcile its past, embrace its present, and define its future. It was a dynamic, sometimes uncomfortable, but undeniably vibrant period where the very essence of American identity was being debated, forged, and transformed. The decisions and sentiments of this era would ripple through decades, shaping the America we know today. It's a fascinating time, isn't it? A reminder that nations, like people, are constantly evolving, facing new challenges, and redefining themselves. Understanding this complex landscape of 1892 helps us appreciate the journey America has taken. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into America at the turn of the century. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we rediving headfirst into one of the most pivotal moments in American history. Chapter 3. The World's Columbian Exposition. Get ready to explore how this incredible event, often called the Chicago World's Fair of 1893, didn't just showcase technological marvels, but ignited a wildfire of national pride and patriotic projects across the United States. Imagine this. It's the late 19th century, and America is a young, vibrant nation, still forging its identity on the global stage. The upcoming 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's arrival in the Americas in 1892 presented an unprecedented opportunity. While the actual anniversary year passed with some smaller celebrations, the grand commemoration was slated for 1893 in Chicago. This wasn't just about remembering a historical event. It was about celebrating America's progress, its future, and its unique spirit. Chicago, a city that had risen from the ashes of the Great Fire just 2 decades prior, beat out contenders like New York, Washington, D.C., and St. Louis for the honor of hosting this monumental event. Its selection was a statement in itself, a symbol of American resilience, ambition, and the powerful westward expansion that defined the era. The fair was envisioned as a testament to American ingenuity and cultural achievement, a chance to show the world what the United States had become and what it was capable of. This massive undertaking was just a fair, it was a vision. The organizers understood that this was a moment to rally the nation, to inspire its citizens, and to project a powerful image to the international community, and it worked. The anticipation alone sparked countless patriotic initiatives long before the gates even opened. People across the country felt a surge of collective energy, a desire to contribute to this grand narrative. One of the most immediate and widespread impacts was the push for civic improvement and beautification. Cities nationwide, inspired by the grand plans for Chicago, began to undertake their own public works projects. Parks were designed, monuments were erected, and public buildings were improved, all with an eye towards reflecting the dignity and progress that the World's Fair represented. There was a palpable sense that if Chicago could transform itself into the White City, then local communities could also elevate their aesthetics and functionality. These movements, often dubbed the City Beautiful movement, gained significant traction, advocating for more harmonious urban planning and the creation of inspiring public spaces. The fair also became a catalyst for national historical remembrance, and the preservation of American heritage. As the nation prepared to celebrate its 400-year journey, there was a renewed interest in American history. Local historical societies flourished, and efforts were made to identify and preserve sites related to the nation's founding and development. Schools emphasized American history and civics, instilling a deeper sense of patriotism in the younger generation. It was a time of looking back at the nation's roots while simultaneously projecting a confident vision for its future. The celebration of national identity wasn't just abstract, it manifested in tangible ways, particularly through art and architecture. The neoclassical style adopted for the fair's buildings, a deliberate choice to evoke classical antiquity and European sophistication, influenced public architecture for decades. Suddenly, town halls, libraries, and museums across America began to incorporate elements of this grand, monumental style, aiming to convey permanence, authority, and cultural gravitas. American artists and sculptors were commissioned to create works that depicted historical events, national heroes, and allegories of American virtue, further solidifying a shared national iconography. Education played a crucial role. The fair itself was designed not just as an entertainment spectacle, but as an educational institution. It showcased advancements in science, technology, agriculture, and art, inspiring a new generation of inventors, thinkers, and entrepreneurs. The emphasis on progress and innovation fostered a sense of national pride in American ingenuity. Educational institutions, from universities to primary schools, used the upcoming fair as a teaching moment, discussing global cultures, technological advancements, and the importance of national unity. There was a strong belief that an informed citizenry was a patriotic citizenry. Moreover, the World's Fair served as a powerful symbol of national unity. At a time when the nation was still healing from the wounds of the Civil War and grappling with new social and economic challenges, the scale and ambition of the fair transcended regional differences, bringing together people from all corners of the country under a shared banner of American acceptance. It promoted a vision of a unified, prosperous nation, demonstrating that despite internal divisions, America could come together to achieve something truly magnificent. The very act of designing and constructing such a vast exhibition required cooperation on an unprecedented scale, fostering a sense of shared purpose among its participants. Women, often marginalized in public life, found new avenues for patriotic expression and organization through the fair. The creation of a dedicated board of lady managers, led by Bertha Palmer, was revolutionary. This board ensured that women's contributions to American society were recognized and highlighted. It inspired women across the country to organize, advocate for their causes, and contribute to the national celebration, demonstrating their vital role in shaping the nation's future. The women's building at the fair itself was a powerful statement, showcasing female achievements in art, science, and industry, which sparked further activism and empowerment. Even the simple act of planning for the fair led to countless local initiatives. Towns held fundraising drives, local committees were formed, and citizens volunteered their time and resources, all fueled by a collective desire to be represented at this grand international event. Whether it was showcasing local products, organizing delegations to visit Chicago, or simply decorating their towns in anticipation, communities embraced the spirit of the exposition as their own. So, when we look back at the World's Columbian Exposition, it's clear that its impact went far beyond the wonders displayed within its gates. It wasn't just a party. It was a profound moment of national introspection and aspiration. The 400th anniversary of Columbus's arrival, commemorated with such grandeur in 1893, became a powerful occasion to celebrate not just a historical voyage, but the ongoing journey of American identity. It inspired generations, shaped cities, and instilled a deep, enduring sense of what it meant to be American. It truly was a moment when the United States looked at itself in the mirror and liked what it saw, and then set about making itself even better. The patriotic projects sparked by the fair fundamentally shaped the physical and cultural landscape of America for decades to come, leaving a legacy of civic pride, architectural beauty, and national confidence. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the inspiring impact of the World's Columbian Exposition. What do you think was the most significant patriotic project or idea spurred by the fair? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating journeys through history. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Welcome back to our series. In our last chapter, we explored the early days of American patriotism. Now, let us fast forward a bit and meet the man who would pen one of the most famous phrases in American history. Our story takes us to the late 19th century and introduces a figure you might not know, but whose words you almost certainly do. Francis Bellamy. So, who was Francis Bellamy? Born in 1855, he wasn't a politician or a general. He was a Baptist minister, deeply rooted in his faith and community. But Bellamy was more than just a preacher. He was also a passionate Christian socialist. Now, that term might sound a bit jarring to our modern ears, but in Bellamy's time, it represented a powerful movement. Christian socialists believed in applying the teachings of Jesus' charity, equality, and social justice to solve the pressing problems of their day, like poverty and labor exploitation. They saw the kingdom of God not just as a heavenly reward, but as something to be built right here on earth, through social and economic reform. Bellamy's sermons were known for their fire and conviction. He preached about the dangers of unchecked capitalism and the moral duty of the wealthy to care for the poor. He was a cousin of Edward Bellamy, another famous socialist and author of the utopian novel Looking Backward, and the family was deeply immersed in these progressive ideas. Francis believed that the principles of early Christianity, where followers shared their possessions and supported one another, were the ultimate model for a just society. This conviction got him into a bit of trouble. His congregation in Boston, made up of many wealthy industrialists, grew uncomfortable with his increasingly radical sermons. They didn't appreciate hearing that their wealth came at the expense of the working class. Eventually, the pressure became too much, and in 1891, Francis Bellamy left the pulpit for good. But when one door closes, another often opens. Bellamy didn't abandon his mission. He just found a new platform. He moved into the world of journalism, taking a job in Boston with a very popular national magazine called Asterisk, the youth's companion asterisk. This wasn't just any magazine. It was a massive publication with over 500,000 subscribers, making it one of the largest and most influential periodicals of its time. It was a household name, read by families all across America. The youth's companion asterisk had a clear mission: to instill patriotism and civic virtue in the nation's children. The magazine's owner, Daniel Sharp Ford, was a marketing genius. He understood that patriotism sold. One of his most successful campaigns was the schoolhouse flag movement. The idea was simple but brilliant. Sell American flags to public schools and encourage them to fly the flag daily. The magazine argued that seeing the flag every day would teach children to love their country and understand the responsibilities of citizenship. It was a commercial enterprise wrapped in a patriotic mission. They sold flags by the thousands, making a tidy profit while also spreading their message far and wide. Bellamy was hired to work in the magazine's promotions department. His background as an orator and his passion for social ideals made him a perfect fit. He was tasked with helping to promote the schoolhouse flag movement and to come up with new ways to celebrate American values. It was here, in the bustling offices of Asterisk, the youth's companion asterisk, that Bellamy would be given an assignment that would change his life and American history forever. The year was 1892, and a major national event was on the horizon: the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's arrival in the Americas. The country was planning a massive celebration, the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, also known as the Chicago World's Fair. Asterisk, the youth's companion. Asterisk saw this as a golden opportunity. They decided to organize a national public school celebration to coincide with the fair's opening day, which was set for Columbus Day. The goal was to have every school child in America participate in a unified, patriotic ceremony. As the head of this project, Bellamy was in charge of creating the official program for the event. It would include songs, readings, and a flag-raising ceremony. But he felt something was missing. They needed a special salute to the flag, something that all the students could recite together. It needed to be short, powerful, and memorable. It needed to capture the essence of what the flag represented. Bellamy's boss, James B. Upham, had tried to write one, but wasn't satisfied with his efforts. So, The task fell to Francis Bellamy. In August of 1892, Bellamy sat down in his office to write. He later recalled the process vividly. He wanted to encapsulate the core ideas of the nation. He started with the word allegiance, a powerful vow. I pledge allegiance to my flag. The phrase was simple and direct. But which flag? He added, and to the republic, for which it stands, to make it clear. He was talking about the nation, not just the cloth. Then, he wanted to define what that republic was. He thought back to the ideals of the French Revolution: liberty, equality, fraternity. He loved the sentiment, but felt fraternity was too abstract for children. Equality was a politically charged word, especially in the post-Civil War era, with ongoing struggles over race and immigration. So, he settled on a different phrasing. He defined the republic as one nation, indivisible. This was a direct nod to the Civil War, a powerful reminder of the conflict that had nearly torn the country apart. The Union had been preserved, and the nation was now, and forever, indivisible. Finally, he added the grand conclusion: with liberty and justice for all. It was a promise, an aspiration. It captured the ideal that the nation was striving for, even if it hadn't fully achieved it. And there it was. In just a few hours, Francis Bellamy had composed the 23 words that would become the Pledge of Allegiance. It was concise, rhythmic, and packed with meaning. He presented it to Upham and the other editors of the magazine, and they loved it. The pledge was published anonymously in the September 8, 1892 issue of Asterisk, the Youth's Companion Asterisk, as part of the official program for the National Columbian Public School celebration. On October 21st, 1892, millions of school children across the United States faced the flag, and for the first time, recited the words, "I pledge allegiance to my flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." Bellamy's socialist ideals are subtly woven into this pledge. The phrase, "one nation, indivisible," spoke to his belief in a unified national community over individual interests. Justice for all was a direct echo of the social justice he had preached from the pulpit. For Bellamy, the pledge wasn't just a rote recitation. It was a vow to work towards a more perfect, just, and unified nation, reflecting his own Christian socialist vision for America. He had created a powerful piece of civic scripture, a national creed that would be repeated for generations to come. But as we'll see in our next chapter, the story of the pledge was far from over. Its words, and even its authorship, would become a source of controversy and change. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the story of Francis Bellamy. It is a fascinating look at how one person's unique beliefs and circumstances led to the creation of something so ingrained in American culture. If you're enjoying this series, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time. Today, we're diving into a fascinating slice of American history, specifically how a popular magazine helped shape a nation, one classroom flag at a time. We're talking about Chapter 5, a campaign to unite schools, focusing on Asterisk, the Youth's Companion Asterisk, and their incredible initiative to place American flags in every single classroom across the country. Now, you might be thinking, a magazine putting flags in schools. How did that even happen? Well, it's a story that beautifully blends patriotism, savvy marketing, and a genuine desire to foster unity among young citizens during a pivotal time in American history. It's a testament to the power of media, even back in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, to influence national identity. Let's set the scene. It's the late 1800s. The Civil War is over, but its scars still run deep. The nation is expanding rapidly, with waves of immigrants arriving and industrialization transforming society. There was a real need to forge a common identity, to remind everyone what it meant to be American. TZ's Wary Asterisk. The Youth's Companion Asterisk, a weekly magazine published in Boston, saw an opportunity, or perhaps a duty. This wasn't just any kid's magazine. Asterisk, the Youth's Companion Asterisk, was incredibly popular, reaching millions of homes. It featured stories, articles, puzzles, and even practical advice. It was a wholesome, educational, and influential publication. The editors understood the power of symbols, and what could be more powerful than the American flag, especially for young, impressionable minds. Their campaign to put flags in classrooms wasn't a sudden whim. It began around the 1880s and gained significant momentum in the 1890s, particularly around the 400th anniversary of Columbus's arrival in America. They launched an ambitious program. Schools could purchase a flag through the magazine. The deal was simple but brilliant. Students would collect 10 cents each, totaling $10, and send it to Asterisk, the youth's companion. Asterisk, in return, the magazine would send them a beautiful flag. Think about that for a moment. It wasn't just handing out flags. It required active participation from the students themselves. They had to work together, collect money, and contribute to a shared goal. This collaborative effort was a powerful lesson in civics and community spirit, long before the flag ever arrived. But it was more than just a transaction. Asterisk, the youth's companion Asterisk, provided detailed instructions on how to properly display and honor the flag. They published articles about flag etiquette, the history of the flag, and stories of American heroes. They even introduced the Pledge of Allegiance, which was originally published in the magazine in 1892, to coincide with the Columbus Day celebrations. Imagine the impact. Millions of children, across thousands of schools, reciting the pledge daily, looking up at the flag they helped bring into their classroom. So, how was this both a patriotic and a marketing effort? On the patriotic side, it was undeniably a massive success. The campaign instilled a sense of national pride and unity. It helped standardize patriotic rituals in schools, making the flag a central symbol of education and citizenship. For immigrant children, seeing the flag and reciting the pledge offered a tangible connection to their new country. It provided a common experience, a shared identity, regardless of their background or where they came from. The flag became a visual representation of the ideals of liberty and justice that the nation aspired to. It taught young people respect for national symbols and the responsibilities that came with being an American citizen. It fostered a sense of collective ownership over national symbols. When students contributed their own money, however small the amount, to acquire the flag, it created a deeper personal connection to it. It wasn't just the school's flag, it was our flag, a symbol they had personally helped to obtain. This enhanced the flag's significance and the patriotic lessons it represented. Now, let's talk about the marketing genius behind it. While the patriotic intentions were undoubtedly sincere, this was also a brilliant business strategy for Asterisk. The youth's companion Asterisk, by becoming the central supplier of flags and patriotic materials, the magazine significantly boosted its circulation and influence. Think about the ripple effect. A school decides to participate, students get excited, and their families become aware of the magazine. Parents, seeing the positive impact on their children and the patriotic mission, were more likely to subscribe or renew their subscriptions. The campaign created a strong brand association. Asterisk, the youth's companion Asterisk, wasn't just a magazine, it was a patriotic institution, a guardian of American values. This marketing effort wasn't just about selling more magazines. It was about embedding the magazine into the fabric of American education and national identity. It created a powerful, virtuous cycle. The more flags they helped place, the more patriotic content they published, the more subscribers they attracted, and the greater their influence became. It was an early example of cause marketing, where a company aligns itself with a social cause to benefit both society and its own brand. The campaign truly cemented Asterisk, the youth's companion Asterisk's place in American history. They weren't just reporting on events, they were actively shaping the national narrative and fostering a shared sense of belonging. The magazine understood that by investing in the future generation, they were also investing in their own longevity and relevance. The legacy of this campaign is still visible today. The presence of the American flag in classrooms, the daily recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. These practices have their roots firmly planted in the efforts of Asterisk, the youth's companion Asterisk. It shows how a commercial entity, driven by both civic duty and clever business acumen, can leave an indelible mark on a nation's culture and identity. It's a powerful reminder that history is often shaped by unexpected players, and that even something as seemingly simple as a magazine campaign can have profound, long-lasting effects on how a society views itself and instills values in its youth. The story of Asterisk. The youth as companion. Asterisk. S-Fly campaign is a testament to the idea that unity can be built through shared symbols and collective action, guided by both lofty ideals and practical ingenuity. What do you think about this campaign? Did you know about Asterisk, the youth as companion, Asterisk's role in placing flags in classrooms or introducing the Pledge of Allegiance? Let me know in the comments below. It's truly fascinating to see how the past influences are present. Thanks so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed this dive into history, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more unique historical insights. Your support helps us keep exploring these incredible stories. See you in the next one. Today, we're diving into a story that many of us know by heart, but whose origins are surprisingly fascinating. We're going back to the late 19th century, a time of immense change in America, to meet the man behind one of the nation's most iconic statements. His name was Francis Bellamy, and he was about to create something that would echo through classrooms and ceremonies for more than a century. So, picture this. It's 1892, and the country is gearing up to celebrate the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's arrival in the Americas. A popular magazine, The Youth's Companion, is at the forefront of a patriotic campaign to place an American flag in every single schoolhouse across the country. It was a massive, ambitious project, meant to instill a sense of national unity in a generation still healing from the divisions of the Civil War. But they realized something was missing. Just raising the flag wasn't enough. They needed words. They needed a ritual, a short, powerful salute that children could recite together, cementing the flag's symbolism in their minds. The task of writing this salute fell to Francis Bellamy, a minister and an editor at the magazine. It sounds simple, right? Just a few words. But the challenge was immense. Bellamy knew this couldn't be just any string of words. It had to be a masterpiece of conciseness. Think about it. This pledge had to be short enough for a child to memorize easily, yet profound enough to carry the weight of a nation's ideals. It needed a certain rhythm, a cadence that would make it flow smoothly when spoken in unison by thousands of voices. And most importantly, it needed to be packed with meaning. So, Bellamy sat down to write. He wasn't just thinking about words. He was thinking about a vision. He wanted to capture the essence of what it meant to be an American, not just in 1892, but for all time. He wrestled with ideas, discarding drafts and refining phrases. He wanted to avoid anything too complex or controversial. The goal was unity, not division. His first consideration was the core concept. What was the central promise being made? He settled on the word pledge. It's a strong, active word. It implies a personal commitment, a solemn promise. It wasn't a prayer or a poem. It was a declaration of loyalty. So he started with, I pledge allegiance to my flag. Simple, direct, and personal. My flag. Not the flag, but my flag. Creating an immediate personal connection for every single person reciting it. Next, he needed to define what that flag represented. It wasn't just a piece of colored cloth. It stood for something much bigger. He added the phrase, and to the republic for which it stands. This was a crucial choice. He specifically chose republic over nation or country. Why? Because a republic is a government of the people, BT people, and for the people. It emphasizes a system of governance, a set of ideals, not just a geographical location. It was a nod to the foundational principles of American democracy. But Bellamy felt it still needed more. What were the defining characteristics of this republic? He thought about the recent Civil War, a conflict that had nearly torn the country apart. The idea of unity was paramount, so he added, one nation, indivisible. This was a powerful statement of healing and resilience. It declared that despite past conflicts, the United States was, and would remain, a single, unified entity. The word indivisible was a direct response to the secessionist ideas that had fueled the war. Finally, he wanted to capture the ultimate promise of America, the very reason people from all over the world were drawn to its shores. What was the goal of this great experiment in democracy? He landed on two of the most powerful concepts in human history: liberty and justice. And importantly, he added a crucial qualifier: for all. Not just for some, not just for the wealthy or the powerful, but for every single person under that flag. With liberty and justice for all. It was an aspirational clause, a goal to continually strive for. So let's look at the final product. The original version Bellamy penned: I pledge allegiance to my flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It was brilliant. In just 23 words, Bellamy had managed to weave a tapestry of personal commitment, political philosophy, national unity, and universal ideals. The rhythm is almost musical, with a natural rise and fall that makes it easy to recite. Each word was carefully chosen for its specific meaning and impact. He had successfully balanced brevity with profound depth. The pledge was published in the Youth's Companion on September 8th. On Columbus Day of that year, millions of school children across America stood, faced their new flags, and for the first time, recited Bellamy's words in unison. It was a powerful, unifying moment, exactly as he and the magazine had envisioned. A simple ceremony born from a need for a few memorable words had instantly become a national tradition. Of course, the story of the pledge doesn't end there. Over the years, it would be modified. The phrase, "my flag," was changed to "the flag of the United States of America" to make it more specific. And in the 1950s, during the height of the Cold War, the words "under God" were added by an act of Congress, a change that Bellamy's own family reportedly disagreed with, feeling it altered his original, more secular and inclusive intent. But the core of Bellamy's vision, this carefully crafted balance of rhythm and meaning, remains. It's a testament to the power of words and how a short 23-word statement, written for a children's magazine, could become one of the most enduring and debated expressions of American identity. It's a living piece of history, one that continues to spark conversation about what it truly means to pledge allegiance. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the story behind the pledge. It is amazing what you can uncover when you look a little closer at the things we take for granted. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And do you don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next historical deep dive. Until next time, stay curious. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a truly fascinating piece of American history. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for this one. We're looking at something so iconic, so ingrained in our culture, yet its origins might surprise you. This is Chapter 7 of our series, and we're finally revealing the first draft. You know the Pledge of Allegiance, right? Most of us can recite it without a second thought. But have you ever wondered how it came to be? Who wrote it? And what did it sound like initially? Well, today, we're peeling back the layers to uncover the very first version, penned by Francis Bellamy himself. This isn't just about reciting words. It's about understanding their power, their purpose, and their enduring legacy. So, get ready for a little historical journey that connects directly to the present. Are you ready for it? The original, groundbreaking, 22-word draft of the Pledge of Allegiance, as written by Francis Bellamy, was this: I pledge allegiance to my flag and to the republic for which it stands, one nation indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just soak that in for a moment. 22 words. That's it. Incredibly concise, isn't it? When you hear those words, what's the first thing that strikes you? For me, it's the sheer simplicity. There's no grandstanding, no flowery language, no unnecessary embellishments. Bellamy, a socialist minister, knew exactly what he wanted to convey, and he did so with remarkable clarity and directness. He wasn't trying to impress with complex vocabulary. He was aiming for something everyone, from a young child to an adult, could understand and internalize. This simplicity is precisely what gave the pledge its immediate and lasting impact. It made it accessible, easy to learn, and therefore easy to adopt nationwide. Think about how difficult it would be to unite a diverse nation with a complex, convoluted statement. Bellamy understood that true unity often comes from shared, simple principles. Beyond its simplicity, let's talk about how inclusive this original draft was. Notice the absence of any specific religious references or exclusionary language. Bellamy deliberately crafted these words to be universally embracing. When A.W. wrote, "My flag and the Republic," he wasn't dictating asterisk, whose asterisk flag, or WHICH Republic. In a restrictive sense, he was inviting every individual to make a personal commitment to the shared ideals represented by the American flag and the nation it stood for. This was revolutionary for its time, creating a common ground where people from all backgrounds could stand together. It wasn't about a specific creed or ethnicity. It was about a shared civic identity and a commitment to the foundational principles of the United States. This spirit of inclusion is one of the most powerful aspects of the original pledge, reminding us that our strength comes from our ability to unite diverse perspectives under common ideals. And what about its timelessness? Even though this draft is from 1892, its core message resonates powerfully today. One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. These aren't just phrases. They are aspirational statements, guiding principles that continue to define the American experiment. TD of an indivisible nation is a powerful call for unity, reminding us that despite our differences, we are bound together by a common purpose and liberty and justice for all. That's not a destination we reach once and then stop. It's a continuous journey, a promise that we, as a society, are always striving to fulfill for every single person. These words act as a constant benchmark, urging us to reflect on whether we are truly living up to these ideals. They challenge us to work towards a more perfect union, to ensure that the promise of America is extended to everyone, regardless of their background or circumstances. So, when you consider these 22 words, simple, inclusive, and timeless, you start to understand the genius behind Bellamy's work. He wasn't just writing a pledge. He was crafting a national affirmation, a statement of shared purpose that transcended individual differences and aimed to unite a rapidly growing and diversifying country. This short paragraph wasn't just a collection of words. It was a blueprint for a civic devotion, designed to instill a sense of national pride and responsibility in every American, especially the children who would first recite it. It served as a daily reminder of the values that were meant to hold the nation together. The original context for this pledge was about fostering patriotism and national identity, particularly among school children. During a time when the nation was still healing from the Civil War and experiencing massive immigration, the goal was to unify, to create a shared understanding of what it meant to be an American. And Bellamy's simple, powerful words were incredibly effective in achieving that. They provided a common language for expressing loyalty and commitment, making it accessible and meaningful across different communities and generations. It became a daily ritual that reinforced a collective identity and purpose. Of course, the pledge we know today has undergone some changes since Bellamy's original draft, most notably the addition of "Under God" in 1954. But understanding this first version gives us incredible insight into the foundational intent behind the pledge. It helps us appreciate the deliberate choices Bellamy made to create a unifying and broadly applicable statement of allegiance. It reminds us that at its heart, the pledge was designed to celebrate the ideals of a united republic, dedicated to freedom and fairness for everyone. It is a powerful testament to how a few carefully chosen words can shape a nation's identity and values for generations to come. So, the next time you hear or recite the Pledge of Allegiance, I hope you'll carry with you this understanding of its origins. Remember those 22 powerful words and the spirit of simplicity, inclusion, and timelessness that Francis Bellamy poured into them. It's a rich part of our history, and knowing its first draft really adds depth to its meaning. What do you think about Bellamy's original draft? Does learning about its simplicity and inclusivity change how you view the pledge? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I always love hearing your perspectives. If you found this deep dive into history interesting, please hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We've got so much more to explore together. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we redive in deep into a moment that echoes through American history. A day when millions of young voices, clear and strong, united in a shared promise. We're talking about the very first recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance, which happened on a very special day. October 12th, 1892. Get ready, because this is chapter 8 in our journey, and it's a powerful one. Imagine this. Id est. The year 1892, America is celebrating the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's arrival in the New World. This wasn't just any ordinary commemoration. It was a nationwide event designed to instill patriotism and unity, especially among the younger generation. The country was still healing from the wounds of the Civil War, and a new wave of immigrants was arriving, adding to the rich tapestry of American life. There was a strong desire to bring people together, to forge a common identity, and to emphasize what it meant to be American. The brilliant idea for a national public school celebration came from Daniel Sharp Ford, editor of the Youth's Companion magazine. Ford envisioned a spectacular event that would involve children all across the country, celebrating American ideals and history. He tasked his staff with creating a program that schools could easily implement, culminating in a powerful, unifying moment. And that's where Francis Bellamy comes in. Bellamy, an employee of the Youth's Companion, was a former Baptist minister and a passionate advocate for social justice and Christian socialism. He was a man with a vision for a more unified and egalitarian America. Bellamy was given the monumental task of writing an oath, a simple declaration that every child could understand and recite. He agonized over every word, wanting it to be concise, impactful, and deeply meaningful. He considered including phrases about equality and fraternity, reflecting his own beliefs, but ultimately decided to focus on patriotism and national unity, knowing that the message needed to resonate widely without becoming entangled in political debates. He wanted something that transcended differences, something that bound people to a common ideal, the flag and the republic it represented. After much deliberation, Bellamy penned the 22 words that would become a cornerstone of American civic life. His initial version read, "I pledge allegiance to my flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." Simple, direct, and incredibly profound. These words were then incorporated into the official program for the Columbus Day celebration, designed by James Upham, another executive at the Youth's Companion. The program outlined everything from flag-raising, ceremonies to speeches and patriotic songs, all leading up to that singular moment of collective recitation. So, the stage was set, October 12th, 1892. Columbus Day. This wasn't just a holiday, it was declared a national school holiday, ensuring that children across the land would participate. Imagine the buzz of excitement in schoolhouses, from bustling city schools to quiet rural one-room classrooms. Teachers had spent weeks preparing their students, explaining the significance of the day and practicing the words of the new pledge. Flags, many of them newly purchased for the occasion, were proudly displayed. On that crisp autumn morning, a truly remarkable event unfolded. Millions of schoolchildren, an estimated 12 million by some accounts, stood tall in their classrooms and schoolyards. From Maine to California, from Minnesota to Florida. At precisely the same moment, they turned their gaze towards the stars and stripes. The air was thick with anticipation, a shared sense of purpose. And then, it happened. A teacher or a school principal would lead, and in unison millions of young voices, full of innocence and sincerity, declared, "I pledge allegiance to my flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." Can you even begin to picture that? The sheer auditory power of millions of children's voices, all speaking the same words, at the same time, across an entire continent. It wasn't just a recitation, it was a symphony of patriotism, a wave of collective emotion washing over the nation. It was a sound that truly unified, a powerful statement of shared identity and aspiration. Think about the feeling in those schoolrooms. For many children, this was their first real understanding of what it meant to be part of something bigger than themselves, to be part of a nation. For immigrant children, it was a profound act of assimilation, a public declaration of their new identity as Americans. For all, it was a moment of civic education, planting the seeds of loyalty and civic responsibility. The pledge wasn't just words. It was an experience, forging a connection between the individual child, their school, their community, and the broader American ideal. The event was a resounding success. Newspapers across the country reported on the widespread participation and the emotional impact of the day. The Columbus Day program, and particularly the pledge, was hailed as a brilliant stroke of genius, effectively fostering a sense of national unity and patriotism among the youth. It wasn't long before the pledge became a regular part of the school day in many places, though it wasn't immediately adopted everywhere. Its power, however, was undeniable. Over the years, the pledge would undergo minor modifications. The most significant change came in 1954, during the Cold War era, when the words "under God" were added, aiming to distinguish the American ideal from the atheistic states of the Soviet bloc. But the core message, the foundational promise penned by Bellamy, remained. The first recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance on October 12, 1892, wasn't just a historical footnote. It was a foundational moment, demonstrating the power of shared ritual and collective expression in shaping national identity. It showed how a simple set of words, spoken in unison by millions, could resonate deeply, foster unity, and instill a sense of belonging and civic duty. It was a beautiful, powerful moment, and its legacy continues to shape the American experience to this day. What are your thoughts on this incredible historical moment? Did you learn something new about the pledge today? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey through history, please hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating stories. Your support helps us bring these forgotten chapters to life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have you ever seen this old photo? It might look shocking at first glance, but what if I told you this was a common sight in American schools for decades? This gesture, known as the Bellamy salute, was once the standard way Americans pledged allegiance to the flag. It's a fascinating and slightly uncomfortable piece of history that shows how symbols and gestures can change their meaning dramatically over time. So, how did a gesture of patriotic loyalty become so controversial that it had to be completely abandoned? Stick around as we uncover the surprising story of the Bellamy salute. It all started back in 1892 with a man named Francis Bellamy. He was a Christian socialist minister and author, tasked with creating a patriotic program for schools to celebrate the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's arrival in the Americas. As part of this program, he wrote the original Pledge of Allegiance. The words were slightly different back then. "I pledge allegiance to my flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." But Bellamy didn't just write the words. He also prescribed a specific set of actions to go with them. He called it a military salute. According to his instructions, as you began the pledge, you were to stand and give a military salute to the flag. Then, as you said the words "to my flag," you were supposed to extend your right arm straight out, palm up, towards the flag. This specific gesture, the outstretched arm, became known as the Bellamy salute. For nearly 50 years, millions of American schoolchildren performed this salute every single morning. It was a symbol of unity, patriotism, and national pride. Photos from the era show entire classrooms, auditoriums, and even public gatherings with people performing this salute. It was as American as apple pie. But then, history took a dark turn. Across the Atlantic, in the 1920s and 30s, new political movements were rising in Europe. In Italy, Benito Mussolini's fascist party adopted a gesture known as the Roman salute, which involved a similar stiff, outstretched arm. A few years later, in Germany, Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party adopted a nearly identical salute, the infamous Nazi salute, with the arm extended straight out, palm down. As the world watched the rise of these totalitarian regimes, the visual similarity between the American Bellamy salute and the European fascist salutes became impossible to ignore. What was once a gesture of American patriotism now looked disturbingly like a symbol of oppression and hate. Imagine being an American during the late 1930s and early 1940s. You see newsreels of massive Nazi rallies in Germany, with thousands of people giving the stiff-armed salute. Then you see your own children in school, doing a gesture that looks almost exactly the same. The association was becoming deeply unsettling. The United States was gearing up to fight against the very ideologies that used this gesture. It created a major public relations problem and a source of national embarrassment. People started writing letters to newspapers and politicians, expressing their discomfort and calling for a change. The controversy reached a boiling point after the United States entered World War II in December 1941. It was simply untenable for Americans to be using a salute that so closely resembled that of their enemies. The cognitive dissonance was too great. How could you be fighting against Nazism while using a gesture that looked like you were endorsing it? The pressure mounted on Congress to act. The symbolism had become too toxic. The United States Flag Association was one of the first major groups to officially denounce the Bellamy salute, urging its members to place their right hand over their heart instead. Finally, on December 22, 1942, Congress officially amended the U.S. Flag Code. They passed Public Law 77-829, which formally changed the protocol for reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. The new instruction was clear. The pledge should be rendered by standing at attention facing the flag, with the right hand over the heart. And just like that, the Bellamy salute was officially discontinued. The transition was swift. Schools across the country immediately adopted the new hand over heart gesture, the same one we use today. The story of the Bellamy salute is a powerful reminder that the meaning of symbols is not fixed. A gesture that began with purely patriotic intentions could, through a twist of historical fate, become associated with one of the most reviled ideologies in human history. Its abandonment wasn't a rejection of patriotism. It was an act of redefining it. It was a conscious decision to separate American identity from the symbols of fascism and tyranny. It shows our ability as a society to adapt and evolve our traditions when they no longer serve us, or, worse, when they come to represent something we stand against. This isn't just a quirky historical footnote. It's a lesson in context. Think about the symbols and gestures we use today. How might their meanings change in 50 or 100 years? The peace sign, the thumbs up, even emojis, their significance is entirely dependent on shared cultural understanding. The Bellamy Salute's story teaches us to be mindful of how symbols are perceived and to be willing to change when their meaning shifts. It's a testament to the fact that even our most cherished traditions are not set in stone. They are living things that must evolve with our values and our understanding of the world. So the next time you place your hand over your heart to say the Pledge of Allegiance, you'll know why. It's not just a random gesture. It's the result of a deliberate choice made during a critical moment in history. A choice to distinguish American ideals of liberty and justice from the symbols of hate and oppression. It's a small action with a very big story behind it. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into a forgotten piece of American history. It's a fascinating example of how even simple gestures can carry immense weight. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating piece of American history. Something you might recite regularly, but probably never stop to think about its origins and evolution. We're talking about the Pledge of Allegiance. Specifically, a really pivotal change that happened almost a century ago. This isn't just about semantics. It's a story about national identity, immigration, and how a few simple words can shape a nation. So, let's cast our minds back to the early 20th century. America was a melting pot, even more so than today, with waves of immigrants arriving from all corners of the globe, seeking new opportunities and a new life. These newcomers brought their cultures, their languages, and their traditions, all contributing to the rich tapestry of American society. And with them, of course, came their children, who were enrolling in schools across the country. Now, imagine a classroom during this era. You have children from Italy, Ireland, Germany, Eastern Europe, and many other places, sitting side by side with native-born Americans. They're all learning English, learning American history, and participating in school routines. One of those routines, which had been gaining popularity since the late 19th century, was the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. The original version of the pledge, penned by Francis Bellamy in 1892, started with the words, "I pledge allegiance to my flag, ... Simple enough, right? But here's where the story gets interesting, and frankly, a little complex, reflecting the anxieties and aspirations of the time. As these immigrant children stood up each morning, placing their hands over their hearts and reciting, "I pledge allegiance to my flag, ... A question. So which flag were they pledging to? For many, especially those who had only recently arrived or whose parents were still deeply connected to their ancestral homelands. The concept of my flag could be ambiguous. Was it the flag of their birth country, or was it the flag of their new home, the United States? This wasn't a trivial concern. In an era marked by nationalistic sentiments and a strong desire to foster a unified American identity, clarity was paramount. Leaders and educators began to realize that for the pledge to truly serve its purpose to instill loyalty and patriotism towards the United States, it needed to be unmistakably clear what my flag referred to. This brings us to a significant moment in history, specifically the years 1923 and 1924. These 2 years saw a crucial amendment to the Pledge of Allegiance, a change that might seem small on the surface but carried immense weight. The National Flag Conference, held in Washington, D.C., played a pivotal role in this. Think of it as a gathering of minds, including veterans, organizations, patriotic societies, and civic leaders, all committed to standardizing the display and respect for the American flag. It was during these conferences that the discussion around my flag came to a head. The concern for clarity, particularly for immigrant children, was a primary driver. The goal wasn't to erase their heritage, but to ensure that when they recited the pledge, they were explicitly affirming their allegiance to the United States. So, the decision was made. The phrase "my flag" was officially changed to the flag of the United States. And then, in 1924, just to add that extra layer of specificity, the words of America were added, making it the flag of the United States of America. This seemingly minor linguistic adjustment had a profound impact. It removed any potential ambiguity. When a child, whether they were a first-generation American or had roots stretching back generations on American soil, stood up and said, "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America," there was no longer any room for doubt. They were pledging allegiance to this asterisk flag, the stars and stripes, the symbol of THIS nation, their new home. This change was a deliberate and conscious effort to Americanize new immigrants, to help them integrate and feel a sense of belonging to their adopted country. It was about creating a shared national symbol and a shared understanding of what that symbol represented. It was an act of inclusion, albeit one driven by a strong desire for national unity and assimilation during a time of rapid social change. Think about the context: the aftermath of World War I, the rise of various ideologies across the globe, and a deep-seated need in America to reinforce its democratic values and national identity. The pledge, with its newly clarified wording, became a tool in this larger project. It wasn't just a daily recitation. It was a daily affirmation of belonging and commitment. This historical moment reminds us that language is powerful. Words shape our understanding, our allegiances, and our sense of identity. The evolution of the Pledge of Allegiance is a testament to how a nation grapples with its own identity, especially when welcoming new populations. It highlights the role of civic rituals in nation building and the ongoing dialogue about what it means to be an American. While the pledge has seen other changes since, notably the addition of Under God in the 1950s, the 1923-1924 modification is particularly significant because it directly addressed the challenge of fostering a common national identity amidst increasing diversity. It was a pragmatic solution to an everyday issue in classrooms across the country, aimed at ensuring that every child, regardless of their background, understood precisely what they were pledging their loyalty to. So, the next time you hear or recite the Pledge of Allegiance, take a moment to reflect on those specific words. The flag of the United States of America. Remember that they weren't always there, and that their inclusion was a thoughtful, deliberate act born from a desire to clarify, unite, and integrate new members into the fabric of American society. It's a small change in wording with a big story behind it. A story that continues to resonate in our diverse nation today. It is a wonderful example of how even small historical details can offer deep insights into the larger currents of society. What do you think about this change? Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you'll be here today because we're rediving into a really fascinating period of American history. You know, sometimes the things we consider traditions today actually have a surprisingly recent origin, and that's exactly what we're going to explore in Chapter 11, which I like to call the era of patriotism. Now, when you think about schools, what's one image that might pop into your head from old movies or even your own childhood? For many, it's the daily Pledge of Allegiance. But did you know that this wasn't always a widespread practice? We're going to trace the incredible journey of how the pledge transformed from a relatively obscure recitation into a cornerstone of American daily life, especially in our schools and government ceremonies throughout the early 20th century. It's easy to assume the pledge has been around forever, right? But its origins are actually quite specific, penned by Francis Bellamy in 1892. Initially, it wasn't about government mandates. It was actually tied to a clever marketing campaign. Yes, you heard that right. A magazine promotion for school supplies helped popularize the pledge. The idea was to celebrate the 400th anniversary of Columbus's arrival. And what better way to unite a nation still healing from the Civil War and grappling with rapid immigration than through a shared expression of loyalty? At first, schools weren't uniformly adopting it. It was more of a suggestion, a patriotic ideal. But as the new century dawned, America was undergoing massive transformations. Industrialization was booming, cities were swelling, and waves of immigrants were arriving, eager to build new lives. With all this change, there was a growing desire for national unity and a shared identity. Educators and civic leaders began to see the pledge as a powerful tool to instill civic values and a sense of belonging in young citizens. Think about it. For children, especially those whose families had recently arrived in the U.S., learning to recite the pledge was often one of their first experiences with American civic culture. It was a tangible way to connect with their new home. It symbolized shared ideals, community, and the promise of a collective future. This wasn't just about rote memorization. It was about fostering a common language of loyalty and shared destiny. This push for patriotism really gained momentum as the United States began to emerge as a global power. The Spanish-American War at the turn of the century, and especially the lead-up to and involvement in World War I, significantly accelerated the pledge's adoption. There was an increased nationalistic fervor, a sense that every citizen, young and old, needed to be visibly committed to the nation. Schools became central to this effort. The classroom was seen as the ideal place to cultivate loyal, patriotic citizens. During World War I, the idea of national unity was paramount. Everything from rationing to bond drives was framed in patriotic terms. The pledge, with its simple yet profound declaration of loyalty, fit perfectly into this narrative. State education departments and local school boards started mandating its daily recitation. It wasn't just a suggestion anymore. It was becoming an expectation, an integral part of the school day. Alongside morning announcements and lessons, the ceremonies surrounding the pledge also became more formalized. You'd see students standing in unison, hands over hearts, facing the flag. This wasn't just about saying the words, it was about performing a ritual. A public affirmation of allegiance that was meant to be both personally meaningful and collectively unifying. It helped create a sense of order, discipline, and shared purpose within the school environment. And it wasn't just schools. Government ceremonies, civic meetings, and even public events increasingly incorporated the pledge. It became a way to open proceedings, to ground public gatherings in a shared national identity. Whether it was a local town hall meeting or a national political convention, the pledge served as a powerful symbol of unity and respect for the nation. Of course, this growing prominence wasn't without its discussions and debates. Over time, the pledge itself saw slight modifications, most notably the addition of undergod in the 1950s, a development we'll talk about in a future chapter. But for the early 20th century, the focus was on establishing its presence, solidifying its role as a daily ritual that transcended regional differences and helped weave together the diverse fabric of American society. So, by the mid-20th century, the Pledge of Allegiance had truly become a daily ritual across the nation. It was ingrained in the very structure of our educational system, and a common feature in public life. It reflected a deep desire for national cohesion during periods of immense change and global conflict. It became a simple, yet profound, way for millions of Americans, especially young people, to express their connection to their country. It is amazing to think about how something designed for a magazine promotion evolved into such a fundamental part of our culture, isn't it? It truly speaks to the power of shared symbols and rituals in shaping a national identity. What are your memories of the pledge in school? Did you recite it daily? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through the era of patriotism, please hit that like button. Subscribe for more historical deep dives, and share this video with anyone who loves learning about American history. Today, we're diving into a fascinating piece of American history, a moment when words became weapons in a global, ideological battle. We're talking about Chapter 12, Under God and the Cold War, and specifically, the 1954 edition of Under God to the Pledge of Allegiance. This wasn't just a simple tweak, it was a deeply symbolic move, made during President Eisenhower's administration. And it tells us so much about America's mindset during one of its most defining eras. So, cast your minds back to the 1950s. The world was a very different place. World War II had just ended, but a new kind of war was brewing. A Cold War. On one side, you had the United States and its allies, champions of democracy and capitalism. On the other, the Soviet Union and its bloc, proponents of communism and, crucially, state-sanctioned atheism. The tension was palpable, a constant undercurrent of fear, suspicion, and a battle for hearts and minds around the globe. In this climate, the United States was keen to highlight everything that made it distinct from its communist adversary. If communism was atheistic, then America needed to emphasize its spiritual foundations. This wasn't just about faith. It was about national identity, about drawing a clear, undeniable line in the sand. America was seen, and wanted to be seen, as a nation blessed by a higher power, guided by moral principles rooted in belief. Enter the Pledge of Allegiance. For decades, it had been a staple in schools and public ceremonies, a declaration of loyalty to the flag and the Republic. But in the early 1950s, a movement gained momentum to insert two powerful words: under God. This idea really picked up steam through various religious groups and politicians who felt it was imperative to declare America's spiritual essence in the face of the godless communist threat. One particular catalyst was a sermon delivered by Reverend George McPherson Doherty in February 19, preaching from the pulpit of the New York Avenue Presbyterian Church in Washington, D.C. The very church Abraham Lincoln once attended. Doherty argued passionately that the pledge, in its current form, could just as easily be recited by any communist. He emphasized that the key distinction between the U.S. and the Soviet Union lay precisely in America's acknowledgement of a divine authority. This sermon was attended by President Eisenhower himself, and it clearly resonated deeply. Eisenhower was a man of deep personal faith, and he also understood the political and psychological power of such a change. He saw the addition of Under God as a way to reinforce national identity, boost morale, and explicitly articulate what America stood for. It was a declaration that our rights, our freedoms, and our very nation were not merely human constructs, but derived from a higher power. This belief was seen as a bulwark against the totalitarian tendencies of communism, which sought to control every aspect of life, including thought and belief. So, on Flag Day, June 14, 1954, President Eisenhower signed the bill into law, officially adding Under God to the Pledge of Allegiance. In his statement, Eisenhower declared, "From this day forward, the millions of our school children will daily proclaim in every city and town, every village and rural schoolhouse, the dedication of our nation and our people to the Almighty." He emphasized that this addition would reaffirm the transcendence of religious faith in America's heritage and the future. In this way, we shall constantly strengthen those spiritual weapons, which forever will be our country's most powerful resource in peace and war. This wasn't just rhetoric. It was a strategic move in the Cold War. By declaring America one nation under God, the U.S. was sending a clear message to the world and to its own citizens. We are fundamentally different from the atheistic Soviet Union. Our foundational principles, our very understanding of liberty and justice, are rooted in a belief system that communism rejects. This served to bolster national unity, provide a moral anchor, and perhaps even offer a sense of divine protection against the looming threat of nuclear annihilation. The impact was immediate and widespread. Children in schools across the nation began reciting the new pledge, instilling this idea of a divinely guided nation from a young age. It became a powerful symbol, not just of patriotism, but of America's moral and spiritual stand against its ideological enemy. It integrated religious belief directly into the fabric of national identity in a public, undeniable way. Now, it's important to understand the context here. The 1950s were a time of intense religious revival in the U.S. Billy Graham was drawing massive crowds, and church attendance was surging. There was a general societal consensus, particularly in the face of the Cold War, that faith was a vital component of American life and resilience. The Under God edition reflected this broader cultural and spiritual moment, even as it served a specific political purpose. Of course, this change wasn't without its complexities or future discussions regarding the separation of church and state. But in 1954, the overriding sentiment was one of national purpose and distinction. It was about creating a clear identity for America in a world sharply divided by ideology. It was about defining what it meant to be an American in opposition to what it meant to be a communist. The phrase, "under God," became a concise, powerful declaration that America's strength came not just from its economic might or military power, but from its spiritual foundations. It underscored the belief that individual rights were not government-granted, a crucial philosophical distinction from communist states, where the state was supreme. This concept provided a deeply comforting and unifying narrative for many Americans during a period of immense global uncertainty and fear. So, when you hear the Pledge of Allegiance today, remember the historical currents that shaped it. Remember that those two words, "under God," were added at a specific moment in time, with a powerful purpose: to distinguish America from an atheistic communist foe, and to reaffirm a national identity rooted in spiritual belief. It is a testament to how profoundly global conflicts can influence even the most ingrained aspects of a nation's culture and soul. This historical chapter really shows us how words can become tools for defining identity, for rallying a nation, and for drawing clear lines in ideological battles. It's a reminder that history is always evolving, and even seemingly small changes can carry immense symbolic weight. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through a pivotal moment in American history. If you found this discussion thought-provoking, please hit that like button. Share this video with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more fascinating insights into history and culture. Your support truly helps us continue exploring these important topics. See you in the next one. Hey everyone, welcome back to our deep dive into the history of the Pledge of Allegiance. Last time, we talked about how "under God" was officially added in 1954. On the surface, it seemed like a unifying move during the height of the Cold War, a way for America to stand apart from godless communism. But was it really that simple? Did every single American wake up the next day and happily recite the new words? The answer, as you might guess, is a resounding no. Today, we're exploring the immediate and lasting fallout of that decision, the divided reaction that sparked debates still raging decades later. Right from the get-go, the addition of "under God" was met with a mix of celebration and concern. For many religious Americans, especially Christians, it was a proud moment. It felt like a public affirmation of the nation's faith and moral foundation. President Eisenhower, religious leaders, and organizations like the Knights of Columbus, who had championed the change, saw it as a victory. They believed it strengthened the nation's spiritual armor and provided a clear moral compass for future generations. For them, it was a simple, declarative statement of a widely held belief. But for others, this change was a step in the wrong direction. Various religious minorities, secular groups, and civil liberties advocates raised immediate red flags. They saw it as a violation of a core American principle: the separation of church and state. Think about it, the First Amendment is pretty clear about Congress making no law respecting an establishment of religion. For these groups, compelling school children to acknowledge a specific monotheistic God, even in a pledge, felt like the government was endorsing a particular religious viewpoint. They argued that one nation, indivisible, was a more inclusive and accurate description of a pluralistic society where people of all faiths, and no faith, are equal citizens. One of the most vocal opponents was the American Humanist Association. They, along with other secular and free-thought organizations, argued that the new pledge marginalized a growing number of non-religious Americans. Their argument wasn't against religion itself, but against the government officially inserting a religious phrase into a patriotic oath. They believed that patriotism shouldn't require a religious test. You could be a loyal, dedicated American citizen without believing in a deity, and the new pledge, inter view, made that position feel less American. This wasn't just a philosophical debate. It was about who gets to be fully included in the we of we the people. The controversy didn't just stay in the opinion pages of newspapers. It quickly moved into the legal arena. The ink was barely dry on the new law before the challenges began. The core of the legal argument revolved around the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. The question was, does making children say "under God" in a public school classroom constitute a government establishment of religion? This is where things get really complex. Supporters of the phrase argued that it wasn't a religious exercise. Te Kayedit ceremonial deism, a term used to describe references to God in official settings that have supposedly lost their religious meaning over time, and now just serve a secular, historical purpose. Think of "in God we trust" on our money. The argument is that these are more about tradition and national heritage than about actual worship. They say, reciting "under God" is no different from acknowledging the historical role faith played in the nation's founding. But opponents fired back. They said, hold on a minute. Especially for a young child in a classroom, being led by a teacher in a daily recitation, it feels very much like a religious affirmation. They argued that for a 6-year-old, there's no understanding of ceremonial deity. There rests only the pressure to conform and recite a phrase that might conflict with their family's beliefs, whether they're atheist, polytheist, or from a non-theistic religion like Buddhism. This, they contended, is a form of indirect coercion that has no place in a public, taxpayer-funded school. One of the earliest and most significant legal battles was sparked by a man named Michael Nudo. In 2000, Nudo, an atheist, filed a lawsuit on behalf of his daughter, arguing that forcing her to listen to the pledge with "under God" in her public school was a violation of her constitutional rights. This case, Elk Grove Unified School District v. Nudo, went all the way to the Supreme Court in 2004. The nation watched closely. Would the court finally strike down the phrase? The result was anticlimactic. The Supreme Court didn't actually rule on the core constitutional question. Instead, they dismissed the case on a technicality, finding that Michael Nudo didn't have the legal standing to sue on his daughter's behalf because he didn't have full custody. So, the question of whether "under God" in the pledge is constitutional was left unanswered by the highest court in the land. The existing lower court ruling, which had found the pledge unconstitutional, was reversed, and the pledge remained as it was. But that didn't end the debate. It just sent it back to the states and the court of public opinion. Since the Nudo case, there have been numerous other lawsuits and state-level challenges. Most courts have leaned on that idea of ceremonial deism, upholding the pledge. They've ruled that the phrase is more a patriotic exercise than a religious one, and that since students are not technically forced to say it. However, the social pressure on a child to stand and recite the pledge with their classmates is a powerful force. And critics argue that the voluntary nature of the pledge is often an illusion in a real classroom setting. This entire controversy highlights a fundamental tension in American identity. Are we a Christian nation, as some have claimed, or are we a secular republic that welcomes people of all belief systems? The Pledge of Allegiance became a primary battleground for this culture war. The two words "under God" came to represent so much more than just a phrase. For one side, they represent heritage, morality, and national identity. For the other, they represent exclusion, government overreach, and a betrayal of the promise of religious freedom. What's fascinating is how this debate from the 1950s is still so relevant. It echoes in modern arguments about prayer in schools, religious symbols on public land, and the role of faith in politics. The divided reaction to the 1954 change wasn't just a historical footnote. It was the opening chapter of a conversation that we are still having today. It forces us to ask ourselves, what does it truly mean to be one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all? Does that promise apply equally to everyone, regardless of what they believe about God? The answer, it seems, is still up for debate. Thank you so much for joining me for this part of the story. It's a complicated piece of American history, and it's so important to understand all sides of it. If you found this interesting, please hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter in our series. Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts on this. We'll see you in the next video. Welcome back to our channel. Today, we re-dive in deep into a landmark Supreme Court case that sits right at the intersection of patriotism and personal freedom. Have you ever wondered if you can be forced to say the Pledge of Allegiance? Well, in 1943, the Supreme Court answered that question with a resounding no. Let us travel back to the height of World War II and unpack the story of West Virginia State Board of Education versus Barnett *. So, what was happening in America in the early 1940s? The country was embroiled in World War II, and national unity was paramount. Patriotism was at an all-time high. In this fervent atmosphere, many schools across the nation required students and teachers to salute the flag and recite the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. It was seen as a daily affirmation of loyalty to the country, but not everyone felt they could participate. For Jehovah's Witnesses, saluting a flag was considered a form of idolatry, a violation of their deeply held religious beliefs based on the biblical commandment not to bow down to any graven image. This put them in a direct conflict with school policies. Entered the Barnett family from West Virginia. Their children, Gathy and Marie, were Jehovah's Witnesses. Following their faith, they refused to salute the flag and recite the pledge at their public school. The consequences were severe. Under a West Virginia Board of Education rule, refusal was treated as insubordination. The children were expelled, and their parents, Walter and Lucy Barnett, faced legal trouble, including fines and the threat of jail time for contributing to juvenile delinquency because their kids were UNT in school. This wasn't an isolated incident. Across the country, Jehovah's Witness children were facing similar punishments. The Barnett family, however, decided to fight back. They believed the school's requirement violated their First Amendment rights. Their case would eventually make its way all the way to the highest court in the land, the United States Supreme Court. Now, here's a crucial piece of context. Just 3 years earlier, in 1940, the Supreme Court had ruled on a nearly identical case called *Minersville School District versus Gobitis*. In that case, the court had actually sided with the school, arguing that the state's interest in promoting national unity was more important than individual religious objections. The *Gobitis* decision was an 8-1 ruling, so the precedent seemed pretty strong. The fallout from the *Gobitis* decision was intense. It triggered a wave of persecution against Jehovah's Witnesses across the country. They were subjected to mob violence, beatings, and their kingdom halls were burned. It was a dark chapter, showing how a legal decision could have profound and dangerous real-world consequences. So, when the *Barnett* case reached the Supreme Court in 1943, the justices had an opportunity to reconsider their previous ruling. The legal question was clear. Could the government compel a person to declare a belief? Was the mandatory flag salute a violation of the freedoms of speech and religion guaranteed by the First Amendment? The Barnett family's lawyers argued that forcing a child to salute the flag against their conscience was a form of compelled speech, a direct assault on personal liberty. On June 14, 1943, Flag Day, of all days, the Supreme Court delivered its stunning decision. In a 6-3 ruling, the court reversed its own precedent from just 3 years prior. They sided with the Barnett family. The court's opinion, written by Justice Robert H. Jackson, is one of the most powerful and eloquent defenses of individual freedom in American legal history. Justice Jackson wrote, and I quote, "If there is any fixed star in our constitutional constellation, it is that no official, high or petty, can prescribe what shall be orthodox in politics, nationalism, religion, or other matters of opinion, or force citizens to confess by word or act their faith therein." Think about that for a moment. Yes, saying that the government has no business telling you what to believe or forcing you to say you believe it. He continued to believe that patriotism will not flourish if patriotic ceremonies are voluntary and spontaneous instead of a compulsory routine is to make an unflattering estimate of the appeal of our institutions to free minds. In other words, true patriotism comes from the heart. It can't be forced. Forcing it actually cheapens it. This was a dramatic reversal. The court affirmed that the right to free speech also includes the right to speak. The mandatory flag salute was declared unconstitutional. Students could no longer be forced to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. This decision wasn't just about protecting a specific religious group. It established a fundamental principle for everyone. It protected the sphere of intellect and spirit from government intrusion. The Barnett decision is a cornerstone of First Amendment law. It highlights the delicate and often difficult balance between the government's interest in promoting national unity and the individual's fundamental right to freedom of conscience. In the middle of a world war, when conformity was the norm, the Supreme Court made a powerful statement that true strength lies in protecting dissent and individual liberty, not in suppressing it. So, the next time you hear the Pledge of Allegiance, think of Gathy and Marie Barnett. Their quiet refusal to participate, backed by their family's courage, led to one of the most important legal victories for personal freedom in American history. It reminds us that patriotism and liberty are not opposing forces. In fact, the freedom to dissent is one of the most patriotic values of all. What are your thoughts on this case? Does it change how you view the Pledge of Allegiance? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective on this fascinating piece of legal history. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the stories that have shaped our world. Hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next video. Until next time, stay curious. Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into something truly foundational to American identity. Something many of us probably remember doing every single school morning. We're opening up our discussion to Chapter 15, the Pledge in Modern Classrooms. Now, before you think this is just a dry history lesson, trust me, we're going to explore why something penned all the way back in 1892 still resonates so powerfully in American classrooms. Today, it's a fascinating journey from the past to our present reality, and I think you'll find it's more than just a collection of words. Think about it. The morning bell rings, students shuffle in, and then a familiar call to attention. Hands over hearts, voices, sometimes a little sleepy, sometimes full of youthful enthusiasm, rise in unison to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. It's a scene played out in millions of classrooms across the country, day in and day out. From the bustling cities to the quietest rural towns, this ritual connects generations of Americans. It's a daily touchstone, a moment to pause and collectively acknowledge a shared heritage and a set of ideals. But what does it truly mean in a modern context? How does a declaration drafted over a century ago continue to shape the beginning of our students' days, defining their connection to their community and their nation? It's truly remarkable, isn't it? This tradition, born in a different era, with different challenges and different societal norms, continues to be a cornerstone of the school day. When Francis Bellamy first wrote the pledge, it was conceived as an expression of national loyalty and unity, particularly for young people. America was a country still healing from civil war, grappling with waves of immigration, and searching for ways to forge a collective identity. The pledge was designed to instill patriotism and a sense of belonging in the hearts of the nation's youth. Fast forward to today, and while the world has changed dramatically, the core idea of unity and shared purpose remains incredibly potent. Now, let's fast forward to today. What does this mean for students in 2024? For many, it's a routine, a familiar part of the morning rhythm, alongside unpacking backpacks and getting ready for the first lesson. But for others, it's a moment of reflection, a chance to connect with something larger than themselves. It's an opportunity, however brief, to consider the values that underpin our society: liberty, justice, and nature. In an increasingly interconnected and complex world, these moments of collective recognition can be more important than ever. They serve as a reminder that despite our differences, there are fundamental principles that bind us together. The pledge is often described as a moment of civic education in action. It's not just rote memorization. It's an introduction, from a very young age, to the concept of citizenship. It encourages students to think about what it means to be part of a community, a state, and a nation. It prompts questions, both spoken and unspoken, about rights, responsibilities, and the very fabric of American life. And let's be clear, this isn't about blind allegiance. It's about understanding the historical context, appreciating the sacrifices made, and recognizing the ongoing work required to uphold the ideals it represents. Of course, the pledge has also seen its share of discussions and debates throughout history. Questions about individual conscience, freedom of speech, and the role of schools in civic instruction have all arisen. These conversations are, in themselves, a testament to the very freedoms the pledge seeks to uphold. It's a living document, interpreted and reinterpreted by each generation. And that's a beautiful thing, because it means we're actively engaging with our principles, rather than just passively accepting them. It shows that the ideals are robust enough to withstand scrutiny and evolve with our society. In modern classrooms, teachers play a crucial role in shaping how students interact with the pledge. It's not just about leading the recitation. It's about creating a space for understanding. Many educators use this daily ritual as a springboard for discussions about American history, government, and current events. They might talk about the meaning of one nation indivisible in the context of historical divisions, or what liberty and justice for all truly looks like in practice. This turns a simple recitation into a powerful learning opportunity, fostering critical thinking and civic engagement from an early age. The visual of students standing together, hands over hearts, is incredibly powerful. It symbolizes a shared commitment, even if each individual's interpretation of that commitment is unique. It's a moment where individual identities coalesce into a collective identity, united under a common banner of principles. In a world that often feels fragmented, these daily moments of unity can be incredibly grounding. They offer a sense of belonging and a reminder that we are all part of a larger story, one that continues to be written by each new generation. The very fact that something written in 1892 still echoes through American mornings today is a testament to its enduring power and relevance. It speaks to the timelessness of the ideals. It encapsulates ideals that continue to inspire, challenge, and unite us. It's a bridge between the past and the present, reminding us of where we've come from and encouraging us to consider where we're going as a nation. It's more than just words. It's a living tradition that continues to shape the hearts and minds of young Americans. So, the next time you hear or see students reciting the pledge, take a moment to reflect on its journey. From a concept born in the late 19th century to a daily ritual in 21st century classrooms, it continues to spark conversations, inspire unity, and connect us to a shared national narrative. It's a powerful reminder that history isn't just confined to textbooks. It lives and breathes in our daily routines and traditions, shaping who we are and who we aspire to be. It is a testament to the enduring spirit of American ideals and the ongoing commitment to fostering a thoughtful, engaged citizenry. Thank you so much for joining me on this reflective journey today. I hope this discussion has given you a fresh perspective on a familiar tradition. If you found this video insightful, please give it a big thumbs up and share it with someone who might appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next deep dive. Your support means the world to me, and I love reading your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what the pledge means to you. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning. Have you ever truly listened to the words? Asterisk, really? Asterisk. Listen, we've all recited them, maybe hundreds of times, hands over our hearts, the Pledge of Allegiance. But how often do we stop to feel the weight, the power, and the promise packed into those 31 words? Today, let's journey together, not just through a familiar text, but into the very soul of what it means to be part of this grand, ongoing experiment. Let's start at the beginning. I pledge allegiance. Just stop there for a moment. I. Not we, not they. I. It starts with the individual. It's a personal declaration, a solemn promise you make, one-on-one with an idea. And what are you doing? You pledge. This isn't a casual agreement. A pledge is a sacred vow, a binding commitment. Think of the most serious promise you've ever made. That's the level of gravity we're talking about. And then there's allegiance. It's a word rooted in loyalty, faithfulness, and devotion. So, I pledge allegiance means I, as an individual, solemnly vow my loyalty and faithfulness. It's an active, personal choice. It's you, standing up and saying, I'm in. I'm part of this. I commit myself. Before we even get to what we're pledging to, the sentence has already demanded a profound personal commitment. It's a powerful start, isn't it? Next, we declare our loyalty to the flag of the United States of America. The flag, it's more than just a piece of cloth. It's a symbol. It's the visual embodiment of our history, our struggles, our triumphs, and our ideals. Each star represents a state, a unique community woven into a larger whole. Each stripe recalls the original colonies that dared to dream of a new kind of nation. When you look at that flag, you're not just seeing red, white, and blue. You're seeing the courage of soldiers, the innovation of scientists, the passion of activists, the hard work of farmers, and builders, the hopes of immigrants. Arriving on distant shores, it's a symbol of unity, a tapestry woven from countless different threads. Pledging allegiance to the flag means you are pledging allegiance to every story, every sacrifice, and every dream that it represents. It's our shared identity, made visible. And what does this flag represent? The next line tells us, "And to the republic for which it stands." This is crucial. We don't pledge allegiance to a king, a dictator, or a single leader. We pledge allegiance to a republic. What is a republic? It's a system where power resides with the people, who elect representatives to govern on their behalf. It's a government of the people. Be the people for the people. As Lincoln so eloquently put it, it's a promise that we, the citizens, are the ultimate authority. This is a radical idea. It means the nation isn't an entity that rules over us. It's an entity that we create and sustain together. Pledging to the republic means you're committing to the principles of self-governance, civic participation, and the rule of law. It's a pledge to the system itself, a system designed to protect us from tyranny and empower the voice of the ordinary citizen. The next phrase is one of the most beautiful and aspirational in the English language. One nation under God, indivisible. Let's break that down. One nation. Despite our vast differences in geography, culture, and belief, we are united as a single people. It's a call for unity over division, for finding common ground amidst our disagreements. The phrase, "under God," added in 1954, acknowledges a belief held by many that our rights are not granted by the state, but are inherent, coming from a higher power. It's a statement of humility, a recognition that there is a moral law that transcends human law. And then, indivisible, unbreakable. This single word carries the echoes of the Civil War, a time when our nation was literally torn apart. It's a solemn vow that we will never let that happen again. It's a commitment to work through our problems, to argue and debate passionately, but to always remain one nation. Being indivisible doesn't mean we all have to agree. In fact, it's the opposite. It means we are so strongly bound by our shared ideals that we can withstand any disagreement, no matter how fierce. It's a promise of resilience, a declaration that our bonds are stronger than our divisions. Finally, we arrive at the magnificent conclusion, the ultimate promise of the Republic, with liberty and justice for all. This is the goal. This is the destination of our journey. Liberty, the freedom to speak your mind, to worship as you choose, to pursue your own happiness, to live your life on your own terms, free from oppression. It's the air that we breathe as a free people. It's the right to be you, and justice, not just for the rich or the powerful, but for all. Justice means fairness, equality under the law, and the right to be treated with dignity and respect, regardless of your background, your beliefs, or the color of your skin. It's the promise that the scales of justice will be balanced, that everyone gets a fair shot. Now, let's be honest. Have we always lived up to this promise? No. For all is an aspiration, a goal we are constantly striving for. The story of America is the story of the struggle to expand the meaning of all. It's a continuous effort to right wrongs, to bend that arc of the moral universe toward justice. When you say these words, you're not just stating a fact. You're renewing a promise. You are recommitting yourself to the hard, necessary work of making liberty and justice for all a reality for every single person in this nation. So the next time you hear or recite the Pledge of Allegiance, I invite you to feel its true weight. It's not a robotic recitation. It is a 31-word poem of purpose. It's a personal vow of loyalty. I pledge allegiance to a shared symbol of our history and hopes, to the flag, and to the principle of self-government, and to the republic for which it stands. It's a declaration of our unified resilient nature, one nation, indivisible, with a final, soaring promise of what we aim to be with liberty and justice for all. It's a reminder of who we are, where we've been, and the incredible, challenging, and beautiful work that still lies ahead. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me today. If this reflection meant something to you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into the ideas that shape our world. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, take care. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into chapter 17 of our journey, and it's a truly fascinating one, focusing on the enduring legacy of Francis Bellamy. You might not immediately recognize the name, but trust me, his words have echoed through generations and become an unmistakable part of the American fabric. Bellamy was a man of his time, but his vision stretched far beyond it. He articulated powerful ideals that even today resonate deeply with the core values many of us hold dear: unity, equality, and a shared purpose that binds us all together. These weren't just abstract concepts for him. They were the bedrock of a thriving society, principles he believed could elevate and strengthen a nation. Think about it. How often do we hear calls for unity in our communities, or passionate discussions about equality and fairness? These are the very seeds Bellamy planted, advocating for a collective spirit where everyone feels valued and works towards a common good. He envisioned a nation where differences could be celebrated, yet a singular, powerful bond united its people under a shared identity. What's truly remarkable is how his words, conceived in a specific historical context, outlived him to become something far grander. They transcended his individual life, evolving into an enduring part of American identity that continues to inspire, challenge, and define conversations about what it means to be American. It's a testament to the power of well-chosen words and deeply held beliefs that they can echo for so long. So, as we explore Bellamy's legacy today, let's not just look at the history, but also consider how these ideals of unity, equality, and shared purpose continue to shape our world and our understanding of nationhood. It's a powerful reminder that some ideas are truly timeless. Now, let's get into the specifics of how these ideals manifested and the incredible journey his words took. It's a story of unexpected influence and a legacy that perhaps even Bellamy himself couldn't have fully imagined. Transition to main content. When we talk about Francis Bellamy, it's impossible to ignore the sheer impact of one particular set of words he penned. While his other writings and thoughts are significant, it was this specific creation that cemented his place in history and engraved his ideals into the public consciousness. He wasn't just a writer. He was an idealist who believed deeply in the potential of a nation bound by common goals. His vision wasn't about enforcing sameness, but rather fostering a collective spirit that valued each individual contribution. He understood that a strong society isn't built on individual silos, but on the foundation of shared aspirations. This concept of shared purpose was paramount for Bellamy, believing it was the glue that would hold diverse communities together, enabling them to overcome challenges and achieve greatness. The enduring nature of his words is truly incredible. They were designed for a particular moment, a specific celebration, yet their resonance far outlasted that initial intent. They became a ritual, a spoken tradition that crossed generations, adapting and morphing slightly over time, but always retaining that core essence of unity and shared commitment. It's a rare feat for any piece of writing to achieve such longevity and widespread adoption. Consider the landscape of America during Bellamy's time. A nation still grappling with the aftermath of profound societal shifts, looking for ways to reaffirm its identity and direction. His contribution provided a concise, memorable articulation of ideals that many people could rally behind. It offered a sense of belonging in a collective goal, which was incredibly powerful. What is fascinating is how these words transcended their origin to become almost synonymous with American identity itself. They became a touchstone, a linguistic marker that evokes a particular set of values and a shared history. This transformation from a simple composition to a national icon speaks volumes about the power of carefully crafted language to shape culture and collective memory. It is not every day that someone's literary contribution becomes so deeply embedded in the daily lives and civic routines of millions. This wasn't a presidential address or a groundbreaking legal document. It was a carefully constructed statement designed to inspire, and inspire it did far beyond what anyone might have predicted. Transition to further exploration of impact. Let's delve a little deeper into the specific ideals Bellamy promoted: unity, equality, and shared purpose. These weren't just buzzwords for him. They were principles he genuinely believed were essential for a functioning, harmonious society. He saw unity not as uniformity, but as a collective embrace of common goals despite individual differences. This distinction is crucial, as it suggests a mature understanding of a diverse nation. Equality, in his view, was about ensuring that all members of society had the opportunity to contribute and thrive, without artificial barriers holding them back. He recognized that a nation's true strength lies in leveraging the potential of all its people, not just a select few. This progressive outlook, especially for his ERA, underscored his commitment to a truly inclusive national identity. And then their shared purpose, perhaps the most potent of his ideals. Bellamy understood that without a common objective, a society risks fragmenting into competing factions. He sought to articulate a purpose grand enough to encompass everyone, something that transcended individual interests and called people to a higher collective good. This idea of working together for something greater than oneself is a powerful motivator. The lasting influence of his words wasn't just about their content, but also their elegant simplicity and memorability. They were designed to be recited, to be internalized, and to become a communal expression of these very ideals. This accessibility is a key reason why they resonated so widely and were so easily adopted into public life. His legacy is a testament to the fact that ideas, when articulated clearly and powerfully, can take on a life of their own. They can become cultural touchstones that shape public discourse for generations, serving as a constant reminder of foundational values. Even today, when we discuss national identity, civic duty, or the aspirations for our society, Bellamy's underlying principles often echo in those conversations, whether we consciously recognize their source or not. It is truly incredible to think about the journey those words took, from Bellamy's desk, into schools, then into public ceremonies, and eventually into the very fabric of American collective consciousness. It is a story of an idea that took root and grew into something far larger than its original seed. Transition to concrete examples of his legacy now. What is the most profound and tangible example of Francis Bellamy's legacy? Without a doubt, it's his authorship of the Pledge of Allegiance. Penned in 1892 for a Columbus Day celebration intended to foster patriotism and American identity in schools, these words became an instant classic. I pledge allegiance to my flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Think about that phrase. One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It encapsulates every ideal we've been discussing: unity in one nation, indivisible, and equality and liberty and justice for all. It was a rallying cry, a teaching tool, and a unifying statement all rolled into one. For children and adults alike, it became a simple yet profound way to articulate allegiance to the country and its founding principles. The fact that these words, written for a specific event over a century ago, are still recited by millions of Americans, from classrooms to civic meetings, speaks volumes about their enduring power. They became more than just words on a page. They became a ritual, a shared moment that connected individuals to a larger national narrative. Over the years, the pledge has seen minor modifications, most notably the addition of Under God in 1954. But Bellamy's core message and structure have remained intact. This continuity demonstrates the strength and timelessness of his initial articulation of national ideals. It's a rare example of an original text maintaining such prominence and relevance for so long. His legacy isn't just about the words themselves, but about the conversation they sparked and continue to spark. The pledge often becomes a focal point for discussions about patriotism, civic duty, and the very meaning of American identity. It forces us to consider what liberty and justice for all truly entails in a diverse and evolving society. So, Francis Bellamy might not be a household name in the same way as some historical figures, but his contribution, through the Pledge of Allegiance, has arguably had one of the most widespread and consistent impacts on American civic life. His ideals of unity, equality, and shared purpose are distilled into those few lines, carrying his vision forward with every recitation. It's It's a powerful illustration of how one person's thoughtful composition can become a cornerstone of national identity. He gave voice to aspirations that continue to resonate, proving that words, when chosen carefully and imbued with genuine intent, can truly outlive their author and shape the future. Transition to broader implications and concluding thoughts. The story of Francis Bellamy's legacy isn't just a historical footnote. It's a living testament to the power of articulating foundational ideals. His focus on unity, equality, and shared purpose remains incredibly relevant today, perhaps even more so in a world that often feels divided. His words serve as a constant reminder of the aspirations that bind us together. Even when we navigate complex challenges and differing perspectives, Bellamy wasn't perfect, and the society he lived in had its own profound struggles and injustices. However, his vision, as expressed in his most famous work, laid down a marker for what a nation could strive to be. It offered a framework for collective identity that emphasizes inclusion and a common good. This aspirational quality is a significant part of why his words have endured. They became a touchstone, a brief but potent summary of civic responsibility and national aspiration. 4 generations of Americans, from elementary school children to seasoned citizens. These words have been a familiar entry point into understanding their relationship with their country and its core values. That's an immense and often underestimated impact. His legacy also highlights how seemingly simple acts or compositions can have profound and long-lasting consequences. He set out to create something for a specific event, but he ended up crafting a piece of language that became a cornerstone of national identity, illustrating how powerful, thoughtful expression can be. So, as we wrap up our discussion on Francis Bellamy's legacy, I encourage you to reflect on those ideals he championed: unity, equality, and shared purpose. How do they manifest in your own life, your community, and in the broader world? How can we continue to strive for liberty and justice for all in a way that truly embodies his aspirational vision? His work reminds us that while history is made by grand events, it's also shaped by the profound ideas and carefully chosen words that inspire and unite us. And in a world that always needs more connection, understanding, and shared vision, Bellamy's legacy continues to offer valuable guidance. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of Chapter 17 and Francis Bellamy's enduring influence. It has been a fascinating look into how words can truly outlive their author and become an integral part of who we are. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that affects us all, whether we realize it or not: the incredible, often underestimated, power of ritual. This is Chapter 18 of Recited, and trust me, it's a profound one. Have you ever stopped to think about why nations around the world, from ancient empires to modern republics, all seem to do the same thing? They create pledges, compose anthems, and meticulously design elaborate ceremonies. It's not just for show, folks. There's a powerful, fundamental human need at play here. Let's start with pledges. Think about a national pledge, a promise, often recited in unison, sometimes with a hand over the heart. What does that repetition do? It's not just words. It's an act of collective affirmation. Each time you say those words, you're not just speaking them, you're internalizing them. You're consciously, and perhaps more importantly, unconsciously, aligning yourself with a set of shared values, a collective identity. It's a powerful tool for solidarity. It says, we believe in these things, and we believe in them together. This shared commitment strengthens the bonds between individuals, transforming a diverse group of people into a unified community with a common purpose. Then there are anthems. Oh, the goosebumps an anthem can give you. Whether it's at a sporting event, a national celebration, or a somber remembrance, the music and lyrics of an anthem are designed to evoke emotion. It's a story set to music, a condensed history, a declaration of ideals. When you hear your nation's anthem, especially in a foreign land, it stirs something deep inside, doesn't it? That's not accidental. The rhythm, the melody, the powerful lyrics. They work together to create an emotional connection to a shared past, a collective struggle, and a common future. The repeated singing of an anthem at national events, schools, and public gatherings reinforces these feelings over time, embedding them into the cultural fabric. It's a way of saying, This is who we are. This is where we come from. And this is what we stand for. And what about ceremonies? From inaugurations and parades to remembrance days and traditional festivals, ceremonies are carefully choreographed events, rich with symbolism. They mark significant transitions, celebrate milestones, and honor shared memories. Think of a graduation ceremony, a wedding, or a military parade. Each element, from the attire to the speeches, the music to the procession, is designed to imbue the event with meaning and significance. These aren't just arbitrary gatherings. They are powerful, communal experiences that reinforce shared narratives and values. When we participate in or witness a ceremony, we're not just observers. We're part of something larger than ourselves. We're part of a tradition that connects us to those who came before us and those who will come after. The collective participation creates a sense of belonging and continuity, reminding us that we are threads in a much larger tapestry. So, how does repetition build identity and emotional connection? It's really quite brilliant in its simplicity. Our brains are wired for patterns. When we repeatedly engage in an activity, whether it's reciting a pledge, singing an anthem, or participating in a ceremony, those actions become deeply ingrained. They move beyond mere intellectual understanding and tap into our emotional core. This isn't just about rote memorization. It's about forming neural pathways that link specific actions, words, and sounds to powerful feelings of belonging, pride, and shared purpose. Imagine a child learning the national anthem in school. At first, it's just words and music, but over time, as they sing it with classmates, hear it at national events, and see its meaning reflected in historical stories, it transforms. It becomes a symbol of their community, their heritage, their place in the world. The repetition makes it part of their identity. It's like a daily meditation on national values, strengthening the collective consciousness with each iteration. These rituals, through their consistent repetition, forge a collective memory. They remind us of our shared history, our triumphs, and our struggles. They create a common understanding of what it means to be part of a particular group, whether that group is a family, a community, or a nation. This shared narrative is incredibly powerful because it provides a framework for understanding who we are and where we fit in the grand scheme of things. It gives us roots. Moreover, rituals provide a sense of stability and continuity in an ever-changing world. When everything else feels uncertain, these established practices offer comfort and reassurance. They connect us to a past that gives meaning to the present and offers hope for the future. They are anchors in the storms of life, reminding us of enduring values and collective strength. So, the next time you see a flag being raised, hear an anthem playing, or witness a national ceremony, take a moment to really reflect on what's happening. It's not just a formality. It's a profound demonstration of the human need for belonging, for shared meaning, and for a collective identity. These rituals are the invisible threads that weave us together, creating the rich tapestry of our communities and nations. They are fundamental to who we are, shaping our perceptions and fostering our connections. The power of ritual is a testament to our social nature, our desire to connect, and our need to belong to something greater than ourselves. It's truly fascinating when you break it down, isn't it? What are your thoughts on national rituals? Do you find them inspiring, or do you view them differently? I'd love to hear your perspectives in the comments below. If you found this discussion thought-provoking, please hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into fascinating topics like this. Your support truly helps us grow and continue creating content that hopefully inspires and educates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next chapter. Today, we're diving into something truly fascinating. How a seemingly simple oath, the Pledge of Allegiance, has woven itself deep into the fabric of American pop culture. It's not just recited in schools. It's a powerful symbol that shows up everywhere, from the silver screen to protest signs, and even in hilarious parodies. Stick around, because we're going to explore how the pledge demonstrates its incredible cultural depth and ongoing influence, proving it's far more than just a historical relic. So, let's kick things off with movies. Hollywood, in its endless quest to capture the American spirit, has frequently used the pledge as a shortcut to evoke patriotism, idealism, or sometimes even irony. Think about those iconic scenes in countless war films or patriotic dramas. A group of soldiers, fresh-faced and determined, stand before a flag, reciting the pledge, and suddenly you feel that surge of national pride. It instantly sets the tone, reminding us of shared values and the sacrifices made. It's a powerful shorthand for American identity, but it's not always so straightforward. Sometimes, filmmakers use the pledge to highlight tension or dissent. In movies exploring civil rights or political upheaval, a character refusing to stand, or altering the words, can be a profound statement, instantly communicating their struggles and beliefs without needing a lengthy monologue. It challenges us to think about what liberty and justice for all truly means, especially for those who feel marginalized. The pledge, in these contexts, becomes a mirror reflecting the complexities and contradictions within the American dream. It's a testament to its power that simply hearing those familiar words, or seeing someone interact with the ritual, can immediately convey such rich layers of meaning and emotion. Beyond films, the pledge has also made its mark on the musical landscape. Musicians, ever the commentators on society, have incorporated the pledge into their songs in incredibly diverse ways. Sometimes, it's a direct sample or a recitation, used to evoke a sense of national pride or tradition. Picture a stirring rock anthem, and suddenly, a children's choir reciting the pledge comes in. It can be incredibly goosebump-inducing, right? It connects generations and roots the song in a shared experience. But just like in films, musicians also use the pledge to provoke thought and even challenge the status quo. Artists with messages of social justice or critique might weave fragments of the pledge into their lyrics, twisting its familiar phrases to highlight inequalities or hypocrisies. They might question whether justice for all truly extends to every citizen, or if the indivisible nation is, in fact, deeply divided. By juxtaposing the idealism of the pledge with the realities they observe, these artists force us to confront uncomfortable truths. The familiar words become a springboard for deeper conversations about what our nation stands for, and how well we're living up to those ideals. It shows that the pledge isn't just a static piece of text. It's a living, breathing part of our cultural conversation. Now, let's talk about one of the most dynamic ways the pledge manifests in pop culture. Protests. When people take to the streets to advocate for change, they often harness powerful symbols, and the Pledge of Allegiance is undeniably one of them. Protesters might recite the pledge in unison, not necessarily as a sign of blind obedience, but often to affirm their belief in the nation's founding principles and to demand that those principles be applied more justly. It's a way of saying, we believe in what this country should be, and we're holding it accountable. Imagine a group marching for civil rights, and they pause to collectively recite the pledge. It is a powerful declaration of their right to demand full inclusion and equality under the very ideals the pledge espouses. Conversely, protesters might alter or even refuse to recite the pledge as a direct act of dissent, by changing a word, omitting a phrase, or kneeling instead of standing. They are making a clear statement about their grievances or their feeling of being excluded from the promise of the pledge. These acts become headline-grabbing moments, sparking national debates about patriotism, free speech, and what it truly means to show allegiance to a nation that may not always live up to its promises. The pledge, in these moments, becomes a focal point for intense political and social commentary. It highlights how deeply ingrained it is in our collective consciousness. So much so that even a subtle shift in its delivery can carry immense symbolic weight. It is truly remarkable how a few lines can become such a powerful tool for civic expression and a catalyst for discussion. And finally, we absolutely have to talk about parodies. Humor is often the sharpest tool for social commentary, and the pledge has been a frequent target, or perhaps inspiration, for comedic takes. From late-night sketch comedy shows to animated sitcoms, parodies of the pledge are everywhere. They often highlight the absurdity of rote memorization, or poke fun at overly zealous displays of patriotism. Imagine a character getting the words hilariously wrong, or reciting it with an almost robotic, devoid of meaning cadence. It makes us laugh, but it also subtly encourages us to think about whether we truly understand the words we're saying. These parodies aren't usually meant to be disrespectful to the flag or the nation. Rather, they use humor to gently nudge us into reflection. They question the performance of patriotism versus the actual substance of citizenship. They can also be used to comment on political figures or events, twisting the familiar phrases to create a humorous and often incisive critique. For example, a parody might replace "one nation," indivisible, with a commentary on current political divisions, prompting both laughter and a moment of thoughtful consideration. The very fact that the pledge is so widely recognized and understood is what makes it such fertile ground for parody. Everyone gets the reference, which makes the humor land even harder. It's a testament to its cultural ubiquity that, even in jest, the pledge continues to spark conversation and connection. These parodies demonstrate that the pledge isn't just a solemn oath. It's a living, adaptable piece of our cultural narrative, open to interpretation, discussion, and yes, even a good laugh. So, whether it's a dramatic movie scene, a thought-provoking song, a passionate protest, or a clever parody, the Pledge of Allegiance continues to demonstrate its incredible cultural depth and ongoing influence in American society. It's a symbol that adapts, provokes, inspires, and even entertains, always sparking conversation about what it means to be a part of this diverse nation. It shows us that history isn't just in textbooks, it's alive and well in our everyday culture. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration today. If you found this dive into pop culture as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and let me know in the comments below. What's your favorite example of the pledge appearing in pop culture? I'd love to hear your thoughts. See you next time. And so, we arrive at the final chapter of our story, a promise that still echoes through the halls of time. It began so humbly, didn't it? Just a collection of words, carefully chosen and scribbled onto paper in 1892, a simply sentiment, born from a desire to instill a sense of unity in a nation still finding its footing, still healing from its own divisions. Who could have imagined then, in that gilded age of steam and steel, that those 23 words would embark on such an extraordinary journey? From that single piece of paper, the pledge flowed outwards, like a river finding its course. It was carried on the voices of schoolchildren, their bright, earnest faces turned towards the flag. It was printed in magazines, shared in community halls, and gradually woven into the very fabric of American life. It wasn't a law, not at first. It was an invitation to pause, to reflect, and to participate in a shared declaration of loyalty. Think of the hands that have been placed over hearts, millions upon millions, day after day, year after year. The hands of immigrants, newly arrived and full of hope, learning the words as they learned the customs of their new home. The hands of soldiers, far from home, the words a grounding reminder of what they served to protect. The hands of students, from the one-room schoolhouses of the past to the sprawling campuses of today, all speaking the same promise. The pledge became more than just words. It transformed into a ritual, a morning touchstone. For many, it's the first collective act of the day, before the lessons, before the meetings, before the noise of the world rushes in. There's this moment of stillness, this shared breath. It connects a student in a bustling city school in California with another in a quiet, rural classroom in Maine. It bridges the gap between a grandparent who recited it in the 1950s and a grandchild reciting it today. It's a thread, invisible yet strong, that runs through the American experience. Of course, the journey wasn't always smooth. The words themselves evolved. My flag became the flag of the United States of America, a change that broadened its scope from a personal possession to a national symbol. The gesture changed too, from the outstretched Bellamy salute to the hand placed firmly over the heart, a shift made during a time of global conflict to distinguish the American practice. And then, in the midst of the Cold War, came the most significant and debated addition, "Under God." This was a profound alteration, reflecting the anxieties and aspirations of a specific era. It aimed to draw a stark contrast between American ideals and the state-sponsored atheism of its ideological rivals. This change sparked a national conversation that continues to this day, a conversation about faith, freedom, and the very nature of a secular republic. It forced Americans to ask, what does it mean to be one nation? Can unity exist alongside diversity of belief? The courts have weighed in, and the debate has been a testament to the nation's commitment to grappling with its own foundational principles. It showed that the pledge was not a static relic, but a living document. capable of reflecting the country's ongoing dialogue with itself. Through all these changes, through all the debates and legal challenges, the core of the pledge has endured. It has become an American heartbeat, a rhythmic, steady presence in the life of the nation. It's a sound that has been present through times of peace and prosperity, and through times of trial and uncertainty. It has been spoken in moments of immense national pride, like the moon landing, and in moments of profound national grief, as communities gathered to find solace and strength. This daily recitation is a form of cultural inheritance. Each generation receives the words from the one before, speaks them for a time, and then passes them on to the next. In doing so, they are not just repeating a phrase. They are participating in a tradition that binds them to the past and connects them to the future. They are taking part in a continuous, living story. It's a story of unity, not of uniformity. The beauty of the pledge lies in the fact that millions of unique, individual voices, with their own hopes, dreams, and beliefs, can come together to speak a single promise. A promise of allegiance not to a monarch or a ruler, but to a flag and the republic for which it stands. A republic built on the ideals of liberty and justice. And while we may argue about the wording, or debate its place in our modern world, its power remains. It serves as a daily reminder of the nation's aspirations, not a declaration of what the country is perfect and without flaw, but a recommitment to what it strives to . Be one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Those last words are the destination, the ever-present goal on the horizon. So, the next time you hear those familiar words, or perhaps the next time you say them yourself, take a moment, listen past the simple rhythm. Hear the echo of all the voices that have spoken them before, the children in starched collars, the new citizens at their naturalization ceremonies, the leaders and the everyday people. Feel the weight and the hope of that simple promise, born from a few words on a piece of paper, now a shared ritual that continues to bind generations. An American heartbeat, steady and strong, still echoing today. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey through the history of the Pledge of Allegiance. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the stories that have shaped our world. We appreciate your time and your curiosity. Until next time, take care.